I looked at a couple of things that I thought would be appropriate, and I'm thinking back of my career and on my career. When I was young, a young man in New York, we had a problem called a skating rink. It took 8 years. Everyone knows the Wollman skating rink. They now study it in all the business schools. They're all nodding their heads. We all studied it. I didn't study it, but I did it. But it's in all the business schools about what private enterprise can do. And we had a rink. It wasn't such a little deal. It was a 80,000-foot rink. It's a very big rink. And the government, under Mayor Ed Koch, couldn't get it built. They were trying. It was actually a renovation. It wasn't even building. And after 8 years, and I have a daughter growing up, she kept saying, "Dad, I want to go ice skating." And for year after year, I'd say to Ivanka. Anybody ever hear of Ivanka, right? She's great. But she'd say, "Can I go ice skating, Dad?" And for years, for 7 years, I said, "I can't. There's no ice." And I'd go over to the rink, and I'd see the men and their workers, and they'd be sitting down. They had lunch breaks. It would take like 4 or 5 hours. There'd be hundreds of guys sitting down at the rink. I said, "Boy, that's terrible." And I'd pass it. And after the 7th year, I went to Koch. And I said, "Ed, I got it. I can do this thing fast. This is ridiculous. They're not working. They're using the wrong everything." And I met with the unions. I met with people that do refrigeration. They were doing refrigeration. The engineer was based in Miami, Florida. I said, "It's true." And they were using Freon. And Freon, that means if you have a little tiny hole in 30 miles of pipe, little tiny hole, it's not going to work. Gas, it'll go out. And I said, "Doesn't sound good, but why do we want a guy?" So I called up the Montreal Canadiens ice hockey team. I said, "Could I ask you a question? Who does your rinks?" "Oh, we have somebody excellent. He's based right here in Montreal." I said, "Now we're talking." And he came in, great guy, came in. He looked at what was happening. He immediately said, "You can't use Freon. It won't work. It'll freeze, it'll this, it won't work. You have to use brine." You know what brine is? It's water with salt in it. How simple could that get? So on top of everything else, it was much less expensive. Anyway, I got to town. Ed Koch said, "Well, you do it," because it was a very huge embarrassment for the New York people. They all know what I'm talking about. And we had cement mixers because it was a massive pour. They were pouring little sections like 10 feet by 10 feet. You can imagine this massive rink. Like, take the biggest office floor you know and double and triple it. And they'd pour a little section, and then another little section, and then the vandals would come in at night and steal all the copper. Because the Freon, you have to use the copper. So I said, "This is not good." So, and you want one contiguous pour. So I had trucks based from, literally from the rink all the way back to Harlem. All the way up to 125th Street, cement mixers. And we poured it all in one day. It was 24 hours. They were pouring during the day, during the night. It was 26 hours and 25 minutes. And we poured one contiguous pour. It healed beautifully. When the city did it, it was like this. So they had on one side 1.5 feet of water, and on the other side they didn't have any water. So they couldn't make ice for a lot of reasons. So, and actually, you know, when I talk about the price, the biggest problem I had was demolition. That was the biggest cost. I had to demolish everything that was done. So I got it done. I got everybody together, and we got it done. And to this day, it's the most successful ice skating rink. I still run it. I run it. Nobody, every time it comes up, the city they don't want to take any chances. But I've run it for many years, and it's the #1 in the world, and it does great. And it's sort of, I was just thinking about it coming up because we're talking about no labels. I was talking to John. I was talking to Joe, and we're talking about getting together. I got together with everybody. The city, the council. Everything had to be done fast. The beauty is, I did it in 4 months. This is after 8 years. I did it in 4 months. I did it for $1.8 million. The city had spent over $20 million. And I always say most of it was demolition. Okay? That's what happens. And you can do that with this country. You can do it with the country.